The massive space station hung in the void like a glittering jewel. Nexus Prime stretched for miles in every direction, home to the Galactic Council that ruled over 300 worlds. Inside the Grand Chamber, delegates from dozens of alien species gathered for another day of deciding the fate of lesser civilizations. Ambassador Lisa Martinez walked through the towering doors, her simple black suit looking plain among the elaborate robes and exotic appearances of the other delegates. The blue-skinned Kethari towered over everyone with their forearms and golden eyes. The insect-like Vorthak clicked and chittered to each other through their translator devices. The crystal beings called Zephyrians shimmered with internal light as they glided across the floor. Lisa took her seat in the section marked for newer species. Around her sat representatives from worlds that had only recently joined galactic society. The older, more powerful species looked down on them from elevated platforms that showed their importance in the council. Chairman Veltar stood at the center of the chamber. His blue skin was marked with silver tattoos that showed his high rank among the Kethari. His forearms moved gracefully as he began to speak. "Today we address the matter of territorial expansion," Veltar announced. His voice carried easily through the chamber's advanced sound system. "The core worlds require more space for their growing populations. We have identified several systems currently occupied by newer species that would better serve the galaxy's needs." Lisa felt her stomach tighten. She had been expecting this for months. Earth's intelligence services had been monitoring council communications, and the signs had been clear. The older species were getting tired of sharing space with newcomers. "The first system to be reassigned is Sul," Veltar continued. "The human species will be relocated to the Outer Rim territories where they can continue their development without interfering with established trade routes." Murmurs of approval rippled through the chamber. Several Vorthak delegates clicked their approval. The Zephyrians chimed in harmony, their way of showing agreement. Lisa stood slowly. The chamber fell quiet as hundreds of alien eyes turned toward her. She had been dreading this moment, but she knew her duty. "Chairman Veltar," she said, her voice steady and clear, "I must respectfully object to this proposal." Laughter erupted from the Vorthak section. Even some of the Kethari showed amusement by changing the color of their skin slightly. To them, a human objecting to the council's decision was like a child arguing with adults. "Ambassador Martinez," Veltar replied with what might have been a smile. "Surely you understand that newer species must make room for their betters. Humanity has only been in space for a few decades. You lack the experience to properly utilize such valuable territory." Lisa took a deep breath. This was the moment she had hoped would never come. "Mr. Chairman, I feel it is my duty to warn the Council that Earth has been holding back our true capabilities out of respect for galactic peace. We strongly advise reconsidering this decision." The laughter grew louder. War Commander Crixhan of the Vorthak stood on his 6 legs, his mandibles clicking with amusement. "The humans threaten us," he buzzed through his translator. "How delightful. What will you do, throw your primitive missiles at our fleets?" Lisa remained calm. "I am simply providing fair warning as required by diplomatic protocol. Earth requests that this matter be tabled for further discussion." "Your request is denied," Veltar declared. "Humanity has 30 standard days to begin evacuation of your core worlds. Council security forces will assist with the relocation to ensure it proceeds smoothly." The gavel fell with a sound that echoed through the chamber. Lisa gathered her papers and walked toward the exit, ignoring the continued laughter and clicking from the alien delegates. As she reached the doors, she turned back one last time. "You were warned," she said quietly, though her words carried through the chamber's acoustics. Then she was gone. Hours later, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of Terra Station, Earth's primary orbital defense platform. The message from the Galactic Council had arrived just minutes after Lisa's emergency transmission. He read through the ultimatum one more time, then activated his secure communication system. "General Rodriguez, Dr. Clark, please report to Conference Room Alpha immediately. Authorization code, Protocol 7. Within minutes, the 2 most important people in Earth's defense apparatus materialized as holograms in the secure chamber. General Amy Rodriguez commanded all of Earth's ground forces from her base in Colorado. Dr. Peter Clark led the Deep Space Research Division from a hidden facility beneath the Swiss Alps. They actually did it, Jake said, sliding the Council's ultimatum across the table. 30 days to begin evacuation. Amy's face darkened as she read. Those arrogant fools. Did Lisa deliver the warning? She did. They laughed at her. Jake activated a wall display showing star charts of human-controlled space. It's time, people. No more hiding. Dr. Clark adjusted his glasses and nodded grimly. All research teams are standing by. The hidden facilities have been on standby alert since the first intelligence reports came in. We can begin activation immediately. How long until full operational status? Jake asked. 72 hours for basic systems, 1 week for full deployment. Peter pulled up technical displays that showed weapons and ships that officially didn't exist. The fabrication yards at Europa and Titan have been working around the clock. We have more firepower than the Council suspects. Amy leaned forward. What about our people? The colonies won't understand why we've been hiding this from them. They'll understand when the shooting starts, Jake replied. For now, we maintain the facade. Let the Council think we're just another primitive species scrambling to avoid extinction. Far beneath the surface of Earth, massive installations that had been dormant for years began powering up. Quantum computers started processing targeting data for weapons systems that used principles of physics the Galactic Council had never discovered. Shipyards hidden in asteroid belts received activation codes that began final assembly of vessels designed to fight against impossible odds. Jake looked at his companions through the hologram projectors. Gentlemen, lady, we tried to do this the peaceful way. We offered cooperation and friendship. We held back our true nature because we hoped they could be reasonable. He turned to look out at the stars, where alien fleets were already moving toward human space. They wanted to see what humanity is really capable of. Now they're going to find out. The communication ended, and Protocol 7 began to unfold across human space. The galaxy had made its choice, and soon it would learn the consequences of underestimating Earth. 3 weeks had passed since the Galactic Council delivered their ultimatum to humanity. Most human colonies were quietly preparing for what they publicly called voluntary relocation, but privately, everyone knew what was really coming. The galaxy was about to learn a very expensive lesson. Fleet Commander Zarthek of the Cathari Third Fleet felt confident as his ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. His force of 12 heavy cruisers and 30 escort vessels should be more than enough to handle whatever resistance the human agricultural colony might offer. Proxima Centauri held 50,000 human settlers who grew food for other human worlds. Intelligence reports suggested they had minimal defenses beyond a single patrol frigate. Zarthek expected this to be a routine operation that would demonstrate the Council's power while giving his crews some easy target practice. Commander, we're detecting one ship moving to intercept, reported his sensor officer. It appears to be their defensive vessel. On the main screen, a human ship approached their formation. The UHDF Defender looked unremarkable compared to the sleek Cathari vessels. Its hull was simple metal and ceramic, without the flowing lines and energy fields that marked advanced alien technology. Captain Ryan Hayes sat in the Defender's command chair, watching the alien fleet arrange itself for battle. His crew of 42 men and women worked quietly at their stations, following procedures they had drilled countless times in secret. Communications, open a channel to the lead alien ship, Ryan ordered. A moment later, the image of Fleet Commander Zarthek appeared on the screen. The tall, blue-skinned alien looked down at Ryan with obvious contempt. Human vessel, you are ordered to stand down immediately, Zarthek announced. This system is being transferred to Cathari control under Galactic Council authority. You have 5 minutes to surrender before we open fire. Ryan leaned back in his chair and smiled. It wasn't a friendly expression. Commander Zarthek, you still have time to withdraw. This is your final chance. The alien's forearms gestured dismissively. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our shields. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. I tried to warn you, Ryan said calmly. Then he cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. Lieutenant Karen White, bring all systems online. Show them what we've really been building. The transformation of the Defender was invisible to outside observers, but devastating in its implications. Deep within the ship's hull, quantum field, generators that had been disguised as simple power cores began operating at full capacity. Weapon systems that appeared to be basic missile launchers revealed their true nature as gravitational manipulation devices. Zarthek gave the order to attack. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaked across space toward the lone human ship. The Cathari fleet expected to see the Defender's destruction within seconds. Instead, something impossible happened. The weapons simply vanished. What? Zarthek stared at his tactical display in confusion. Where did our shots go? Sir, his science officer reported with obvious panic in her voice. Their defensive systems appear to be shifting our weapons into parallel dimensions. The energy is being redirected through quantum space. Before Zarthek could process this information, the Defender fired back. The gravitational lance cannons created localized gravity wells that traveled at near light speed toward the Cathari formation. When they struck the alien ships, the results were spectacular and terrible. The artificial gravity fields collapsed the vessel's hulls like tin cans being crushed by invisible hands. 3 escort ships were destroyed in the first salvo. The crew aboard the Defender worked with practiced efficiency, targeting and firing with mechanical precision. There was no anger or hatred in their actions, just the calm professionalism of people doing a job they had trained years to do. Impossible, Zarthek whispered as he watched his fleet being systematically destroyed. No species has this technology. Our intelligence said humans were primitive. His tactical officer's report confirmed his worst fears. Sir, we're detecting quantum-level manipulation of space-time. Their weapons appear to be using principles our scientists haven't even theorized about. 6 minutes after the battle began, it was over. The entire Cathari Third Fleet had been reduced to expanding clouds of debris and plasma. Only Zarthek's flagship remained, and that because Ryan had deliberately avoided destroying it. Open a channel to the surviving ship, Ryan ordered. Zarthek's image reappeared on the screen, but now the proud fleet commander looked stunned and terrified. Behind him, his bridge crew worked frantically to keep their damaged ship operational. Commander, Ryan said politely, your ship is free to go. Please return to your superiors and inform them that this was our first warning. If more fleets come to human space, they will not be as fortunate as you. The transmission ended, and the battered Cathari flagship limped away toward the jump point, leaving behind the wreckage of what had been one of the Council's most powerful fleets. On Earth, Lieutenant Karen White monitored deep space communications from Luna Base. The moon-based facility had been listening to alien transmissions for decades, but now the chatter exploded across every frequency as news of the fleet's destruction spread through galactic space. Admiral Morrison, she reported over the secure channel, the aliens are going crazy. Every species in the galaxy is demanding to know how we destroyed an entire Cathari fleet with one ship. Jake Morrison nodded grimly from his position aboard. Terra Station. Any word from our diplomatic channels? Ambassador Martinez reports that the Council is in emergency session. They're calling our victory impossible and demanding we reveal our weapons technology. I bet they are. Jake turned to look at the tactical displays showing human defensive positions throughout the solar system. Dr. Clark, how are our people taking the news? Peter Clark's voice came through from his hidden research facility. Better than expected. Dr. Ben Taylor reports that all civilian populations understand they're now at war. Dr. Sandra Lee confirms that our manufacturing centers are moving to full wartime production, and our little secret? Still secret, but not for much longer. The aliens are going to start putting pieces together soon. Peter paused. Sir, there's something else. Our intelligence networks report that 23 species have agreed to form a military alliance against us. They're calling it the Great Alliance. Jake wasn't surprised. How many ships? Current estimates suggest over 4,000 vessels. The largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Good, Jake said, surprising everyone on the channel. Let them come. The more they send, the clearer our message will be. Reports of the Proxima Centauri battle spread throughout the galaxy. Panic began to set in among the species that had dismissed humanity as primitive newcomers. The humans had not just won a battle. They had done so using technology that shouldn't exist. In secret meeting rooms across hundreds of worlds, military leaders and scientists tried to understand what they had witnessed. How had the humans developed such advanced weapons in only a few decades of spaceflight? Where had they acquired the knowledge to manipulate gravity and quantum fields? None of them suspected the truth, that humanity had been studying alien technology for much longer than anyone knew, improving upon it with innovations born from a species that had spent millennia perfecting the art of warfare on a dangerous world. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans said they were holding back, they meant it literally. The Great Alliance formed faster than anyone had expected. Within days of the Proxima Centauri disaster, 23 alien species had pledged their fleets to the largest military coalition in galactic history. War Marshal Crixhan of the Vorthak found himself commanding over 4,000 ships, with more joining every day. The insectoid warrior stood in the command center of the Alliance flagship, studying tactical displays that showed the deployment of forces across 3 sectors. His mandibles clicked with satisfaction as he reviewed the numbers. No single species could stand against such overwhelming force. The humans have perhaps 50 ships total, reported his Cathari intelligence officer. Their colonies are scattered and lightly defended. This war should be over within weeks. Crixhan's 6 legs shifted as he considered the reports. What of their new weapons? The gravity devices they used at Proxima? Our scientists believe they must have discovered an ancient technology cache. Primitive species sometimes stumble upon artifacts left by extinct civilizations. Once we capture their ships, we can reverse engineer the technology for ourselves. The War Marshal's translator device buzzed as he gave orders to his fleet commanders. Begin the offensive. Hit their outer colonies first, then drive toward their home system. Leave no survivors who might warn their home fleet. On Earth, General Amy Rodriguez stood in the Colorado Mountain Complex, watching as reports flowed in from across human space. The alien alliance was moving exactly as predicted, spreading their forces to attack multiple targets simultaneously. Admiral Morrison, she said into her communicator, they're taking the bait. Enemy fleets are moving against our outer colonies just like our war games suggested they would. Jake Morrison's voice came back from Terra Station, where he was coordinating humanity's response. Excellent. Phase 2 is authorized. Captain Miller, you're clear to reveal the retribution. In the hidden shipyards of Europa, massive doors that had been concealed beneath the moon's ice began to open. What emerged made the Defender look like a small patrol boat. The UHDF Retribution stretched nearly 2 miles from bow to stern, its dark hull bristling with weapon systems that used principles of physics the Galactic Council had never imagined. Captain Tony Miller walked onto the Retribution's bridge, followed by a crew of 500 of humanity's best military personnel. The massive command center could have held the entire Galactic Council chamber with room to spare. All stations report ready, Captain, announced Commander Steve Johnson from the Weapons Control Center. Task Force Omega is standing by. Through the bridge windows, Miller could see the rest of his fleet, 30 ships that officially didn't exist, each one incorporating decades of secret research and development. These weren't retrofitted civilian vessels or hastily armed transports. They were purpose-built instruments of war, designed from the ground up to fight against impossible odds. Take us out, Miller ordered. Destination, Kepler Station. Kepler Station served as a major trading hub and military depot for the Galactic Council. Intelligence reports indicated that War Marshal Crixhan had stationed 300 ships there to protect the facility while his main force attacked human colonies. It would be the perfect place to send a message. The Battle of Kepler Station began when Admiral Helen Carter's advanced scouts detected the alien defensive fleet. The enemy force outnumbered the humans 10-1, with massive dreadnoughts and battle cruisers from a dozen different species. Admiral, reported her tactical officer from the bridge of the UHDF Vengeance. Enemy fleet is moving to intercept. They're forming a defensive wall around the station. Helen studied the tactical display with calm professionalism. Deploy temporal distortion mines along their projected course. Prepare matter conversion torpedoes for maximum effect. The alien fleet commanders had expected to face the same basic human vessels they had been briefed about. Instead, they found themselves fighting technology that seemed to come from science fiction. The temporal distortion mines created localized time fields that slowed enemy ships to a crawl, making them easy targets. Matter conversion torpedoes didn't just damage their targets. They converted sections of alien hulls directly into energy. "What is happening?" demanded the Zephyrian fleet commander, as his formation disintegrated around him. "These weapons violate the fundamental laws of physics." His Vorthak counterpart was too busy trying to save his remaining ships to answer. Half his fleet had been destroyed in the first exchange of fire, and the humans hadn't even taken damage yet. Commander Steve Johnson broadcast a message across all galactic frequencies from his position aboard the Vengeance. "You declared war on Earth. You wanted to see our true strength. This is just the beginning." The battle lasted 18 minutes. When it ended, the entire alien defensive fleet had been destroyed, and Kepler Station was under human control. Gurkim, 30 ships of Task Force Omega hadn't lost a single vessel. As news of the defeat spread across the galaxy, panic began to set in among the member species of the Great Alliance. This wasn't supposed to be possible. Their intelligence had been completely wrong about human capabilities. In the depths of the Colorado Mountain Complex, Dr. Peter Clark revealed the truth to his assembled research teams. Dr. Ben Taylor and Dr. Sandra Lee listened in amazement as their leader explained decades of deception. "We've been monitoring alien communications since before first contact," Peter said, displaying charts and technical data. "Every ship design, every weapon system, every technological advancement they've made. We've been studying them and improving upon their technology for 40 years. "Sir," Dr. Taylor asked, "how did we keep this secret for so long?" "Simple. We let them see what they expected to see. Primitive rockets, basic energy weapons, simple defensive systems. Meanwhile, our real research was happening in facilities they didn't know existed." Dr. Lee pulled up a holographic display showing the hidden installations scattered throughout the solar system. The manufacturing capacity alone must have cost trillions. It did. But the alternative was submission to species that view us as inferior. Peter activated additional displays showing weapon systems that dwarfed anything the aliens possessed. They ruled this galaxy through technological superiority. Now they're about to learn what happens when a species with superior technology decides to stop being polite. Admiral Morrison's voice came through the communication system, addressing all human forces. "People, the enemy is learning that our restraint wasn't weakness. Every battle they fight against us will demonstrate the consequences of their aggression. We offered peace, they chose war. Now they get to see what humanity looks like when we stop holding back." Across human space, fleets that had been hidden for decades began to emerge. Ships built in secret shipyards, weapons developed in classified research facilities, and defensive systems that turned human colonies into fortresses. War Marshal Crixon received the reports from Kepler Station with growing alarm. His intelligence officers could offer no explanation for the human victory. The weapons they had used were beyond anything in the Galactic Council's technology base. "How many ships do they really have?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. Our estimates were based on observed construction. It appears they have been building ships in secret for decades." The War Marshal's mandibles clicked nervously. "What are our losses so far?" 5 fleets destroyed, sir. Over 800 ships. The humans have lost none." For the first time in his long military career, Crixon felt something he had never experienced before: doubt. The species he had dismissed as primitive barbarians were systematically destroying the greatest military force ever assembled. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity's warnings had been literal. Earth really had been holding back, and now the full weight of human ingenuity and determination was being brought to bear against those who had chosen to be their enemies. 6 months into the war, the galaxy had become unrecognizable. Half of all inhabited star systems now flew the blue and white flag of the Terran Federation. The Great Alliance, once commanding over 4,000 ships, had been reduced to desperate defensive actions around their core worlds. Colonel Nick Davis walked through the crystal gardens of Crystalla, the Zephyrian homeworld that had surrendered after watching their entire fleet disappear in a matter of hours. The crystalline beings who had once ruled a dozen systems now worked quietly under human supervision, their musical voices subdued but not hostile. "Colonel," reported Lieutenant Sandra Hayes from the temporary command center. "The new civilian government is functioning well. Crime has actually decreased since we took control." Nick nodded as he reviewed the reports. It had surprised many of the conquered species to discover that humans made fair rulers. Unlike the Galactic Council's system of species-based hierarchy, the Terran Federation judged individuals by their actions rather than their genetics. "Any word from the resistance movements?" he asked. "Minimal activity. Most citizens seem to prefer our administration to their previous government." Sandra paused. "Sir, there's something else. Intelligence reports suggest the remaining alliance forces are planning something desperate. That something became clear when War Marshal Crixhan authorized the use of planet-killer weapons against human-occupied worlds. The massive stellar detonators were the most destructive weapons in the galactic arsenal, capable of triggering supernova events that would sterilize entire star systems. The first target was New Geneva Colony, a peaceful agricultural world with 2 million human settlers. The Vorthak High Command believed that destroying a major human population center would force Earth to negotiate. Captain Angela Martinez stood on the bridge of the UHDF Righteous as her ship moved to intercept the Vorthak fleet approaching New Geneva. The enemy force included not just warships but a massive construction vessel carrying the stellar detonator. "Captain," reported her science officer, "the weapon is designed to destabilize the local star. Even if we destroy the delivery system, the chain reaction might already be starting." Angela studied the tactical display with calm determination. The Righteous was one of humanity's newest ships, equipped with technology that pushed the boundaries of theoretical physics even further than previous designs. "Activate the reality anchor drives," she ordered. "If they want to play with stellar physics, let's show them what happens when humans get serious about science." The reality anchor drives created a localized field of absolute physical law, preventing any changes to the fundamental forces within their area of effect. When the Vorthak triggered their stellar detonator, the weapon simply failed to function. The star continued burning normally while Angela's quantum cascade cannons systematically destroyed the enemy fleet. "Message to all Alliance forces," Angela broadcast across galactic communication networks. "Your planet-killer weapons are useless against us. Surrender now or we'll demonstrate why humans don't need to destroy stars to win this war." On Mars, General Amy Rodriguez launched Operation Final Truth from the Martian War College. Dr. Peter Clark had perfected dimensional gateway technology that allowed human fleets to appear instantly anywhere in the galaxy. The final assault would hit 40 star systems simultaneously. "Remember," Amy addressed her commanders through the secure network, "we're not just ending a war. We're establishing a new order that will last for centuries. Fight hard, but fight honorably." Admiral Christine Young led the assault on Keth Prime, homeworld of the species that had started this conflict by demanding human relocation. Her fleet of 60 ships emerged from dimensional gateways directly above the planet's major cities. The Cathari Planetary Defense Force had been expecting a traditional siege that would give them time to evacuate their leadership. Instead, they found human ships materializing inside their defensive perimeters, broadcasting surrender demands in perfect Cathari language. "Attention, Cathari High Command," Admiral Young announced. "Your fleets are destroyed, your allies have abandoned you, and your planet is surrounded. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally." Major Lucas Brown coordinated the planetary invasion forces, leading soldiers equipped with power armor that incorporated the best of human and alien technology. The suits made each human soldier equivalent to a small tank, nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons while providing enhanced strength and speed. But it wasn't the technology that gave humans their greatest advantage in warfare. It was something deeper, something that came from being born on a world that had produced countless conflicts and forced its inhabitants to become masters of violence. "Look at how they fight," observed Dr. Margaret Foster, watching combat recordings from her position in the Earth Defense Analysis Center. Every human innovation in warfare builds on lessons learned from thousands of years of terrestrial conflict. We don't just copy alien technology. We improve it because we understand war in ways they never learned. The aliens had spent millennia as the dominant powers in their regions, rarely facing serious opposition. Humans had spent the same time, perfecting the art of destroying each other, creating military doctrines and tactical innovations that came from constant evolutionary pressure. When human soldiers fought alien troops, the difference was immediately apparent. The aliens fought according to established procedures and traditional tactics. Humans fought with creativity, adaptability, and an understanding of violence that came from a species forged in the crucible of a dangerous world. War Marshal Crixhan watched his command center's displays with growing desperation as reports came in from across the Alliance's remaining territory. Every system was under simultaneous attack. Human forces were appearing from nowhere, striking with precision that suggested they had been planning these operations for years. "How many fleets do they have?" he demanded from his remaining staff officers. "Unknown, sir. Our intelligence estimates have been wrong from the beginning. They appear to have ships we've never seen before, using technology we don't understand." "What about our reserve forces?" "Gone, sir. The humans are hitting our supply bases, shipyards, and training facilities simultaneously. They're not just winning battles, they're dismantling our entire military infrastructure." The truth was even worse than Crixhan realized. Humanity hadn't just been hiding their military strength. They had been mapping every Alliance installation, studying every tactical doctrine, and preparing specific counter-strategies for every possible scenario. On Keth Prime, Chairman Veltar sat in his private chambers as the sounds of human occupation forces echoed through the capital city. The proud leader who had dismissed humanity's warnings now faced the complete destruction of everything his species had built. His communication system activated, showing the image of Admiral Christine Young. The human officer looked tired but determined as she delivered her message. "Chairman Veltar, your government has 1 hour to formally surrender. Your military forces have been defeated, your allies have either surrendered or fled, and your planet is under our control. What do you want?" Veltar asked, his forearms trembling with exhaustion. "What we always wanted. Peace. The difference is that now it will be peace on our terms." As reports of simultaneous victories came in from across the galaxy, Admiral Jake Morrison prepared for the final phase of the war. The Alliance's core worlds were surrounded, their fleets destroyed, and their leaders facing the choice between surrender and extinction. Humanity had kept their promise. They had warned the galaxy that Earth was holding back. Now, as human ships controlled the space around hundreds of worlds, that warning had proven to be entirely accurate. The species that had demanded humanity's relocation were about to learn what relocation really meant when imposed by beings who understood that mercy was a choice, not a weakness. The war ended 8 months after it began with the complete surrender of the Great Alliance. In the rebuilt chambers of Nexus Prime, Ambassador Lisa Martinez stood where she had once delivered humanity's warning to an arrogant galactic council. Now she faced the shattered remnants of species that had learned too late what it meant to underestimate Earth. Admiral Jake Morrison stood beside her, no longer hiding behind the facade of primitive human technology. His dress uniform bore the insignia of the Terran Federation, the new government that would guide galactic civilization into an era of unprecedented peace and prosperity. "Honored delegates," Lisa began, her voice carrying easily through the chambers. "Advanced acoustics, we gathered today not to celebrate victory, but to establish the foundation for a better future." The surviving alien leaders sat in their assigned seats, no longer on elevated platforms but at the same level as everyone else. Chairman Veltar of the Cathari looked older than his species' normal lifespan should have allowed. War Marshal Crixhan's mandibles remained still, his translator device silent. "We gave you warnings," Lisa continued, her tone remaining diplomatic despite everything that had happened. "We told you that Earth was holding back our true capabilities. You chose to interpret our restraint as weakness, Dr. Margaret Foster approached the central podium, carrying data tablets that contained evidence of humanity's decades-long deception. The brilliant scientist had spent years analyzing alien technology, while her people prepared for this exact scenario. "Ladies, gentlemen, and respected beings," Dr. Foster began, "I present evidence of humanity's actual technological development over the past 40 years. The chamber's holographic displays activated, showing technical specifications that made even the most advanced alien scientists gasp in amazement: quantum manipulation devices, dimensional gateway generators, matter conversion systems, and gravitational control mechanisms far beyond anything the Galactic Council had ever developed. We monitored your communications from the moment you made first contact with our exploration vessels," Dr. Foster explained. "We studied your technology, your military tactics, your political systems, and your social structures. We learned everything about you while carefully controlling what you learned about us." A Zephyrian delegate's crystalline form chimed with what their species expressed as confusion. "But why? Why hide such advancement? You could have ruled the galaxy from the beginning." Admiral Morrison stepped forward to answer. "Because we studied your history. We saw how you treated species you considered inferior. We decided to observe your true nature before revealing our capabilities." President Laura Thompson's image appeared on the communication screens, broadcasting from the White House to address the galaxy. Her words would be translated into hundreds of languages and transmitted to every inhabited world. "Today marks the beginning of the new Galactic Charter," President Thompson announced. "The Terran Federation will assume responsibility for galactic governance, but unlike previous systems, our administration will be based on merit and justice rather than species hierarchy." Captain Derek Adams of the UHDF Unity had spent the past months overseeing the transition of power on former Alliance worlds. His reports had surprised many humans with their descriptions of how quickly alien populations adapted to human rule. "Most species actually prefer our system," Derek explained to the assembled delegates. "We judge individuals by their actions and abilities, not by which world they were born on. Your previous government's species-based caste system created more resentment than you realized." The evidence was overwhelming. Crime rates had dropped on human-occupied worlds. Economic productivity had increased. Scientific research was accelerating as species that had been excluded from advanced fields suddenly found themselves welcomed into human research programs. Dr. Ben Taylor's voice came through the communication system from his research station on Europa. "We're seeing unprecedented cooperation between species that were previously restricted from working together. When you remove artificial barriers based on genetics, intelligent beings tend to accomplish remarkable things." Commander Rachel Turner had established the Galactic Peace Corps, a joint military organization that included volunteers from every species willing to serve under human command. The diversity of the force was remarkable. Cathari engineers, Vorthak, security specialists, Zephyrian communications experts, and dozens of other species working together for the first time in galactic history. The Peace Corps now includes over 2 million beings from 47 different species, Rachel reported. "Former enemies are serving side by side to maintain the peace we've established." The transformation wasn't just military. Ambassador Kevin Harris had been appointed as Galactic Governor, overseeing a civilian administration that included qualified individuals regardless of their species. The old system of hereditary leadership and species-based privilege was being replaced by competency-based governance. "We've established standardized education systems, universal legal codes, and economic policies that benefit everyone, rather than just the dominant species," Kevin explained from his office in the rebuilt Nexus Prime. "For the first time in recorded galactic history, every sentient being has equal opportunity for advancement." But perhaps the most significant change was psychological. Species that had spent centuries as either rulers or subjects were learning to work together as equals. The artificial hierarchies that had defined galactic civilization for millennia were being replaced by cooperation based on shared goals. Lisa Martinez looked out at the representatives from hundreds of worlds, many of whom were learning to work together for the first time. The chamber that had once echoed with the laughter of species mocking human warnings now hosted serious discussions about trade agreements, research partnerships, and cultural exchange programs. "The galaxy enters a new age today," Lisa announced. "An age where strength serves justice, where technology benefits everyone, and where the mistakes of the past become lessons for a better future." In the weeks that followed, the transformation continued. Human medical technology was shared freely with all species, extending lifespans and curing diseases that had plagued entire worlds. Educational exchanges allowed alien students to study on Earth, while human scholars explored the unique knowledge of dozens of different civilizations. Admiral Morrison stood in his new office aboard the renamed Station Unity, watching as ships from every species in the galaxy arrived and departed in peaceful trade and cooperation. The massive complex that had once housed the Galactic Council's military forces now served as the headquarters for an organization dedicated to exploration and mutual prosperity. "You know what the strangest part is?" he said to General Rodriguez during their weekly coordination meeting. Most of them seemed genuinely happy with the changes. Amy nodded from her position on Earth, where she was overseeing the integration of former Alliance military forces into the Terran Federation structure. "Turns out that when you treat people fairly and give them opportunities based on merit, they tend to support your government." The final scene took place 1 year after the war's end. Ambassador Kevin Harris stood in the council chambers, now serving as humanity's galactic governor. Before him sat representatives from over 300 worlds, including many former enemies who had become valuable allies. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings," Kevin began, using the formal address that had become standard for interspecies communication. "Today, we celebrate not the anniversary of our victory, but the anniversary of our choice to build something better." A message echoed across the galaxy through every communication system, translated into every language, reaching every inhabited world. "Humanity warned you we were holding back. You learned what happens when Earth shows no mercy in war. Now learn what happens when we show no limits in peace." The galaxy had indeed entered a new age, an age where the species that had perfected the art of war on a dangerous world used that same determination and creativity to perfect the art of civilization among the stars. The warnings had been accurate, the consequences had been severe, but the ultimate result was a galactic community that finally lived up to its potential. Earth had shown the galaxy no mercy in war, but in peace, they showed no limits to what could be accomplished when intelligent beings worked together toward common goals. The transformation was complete, and the future stretched ahead with possibilities that no single species could have achieved alone.